You dragged me into this.
Welcome to Zero Hit Points, everybody. It is January 15th. I'm Ryan Miller, and it's all about me. It's Matt Amber.
Yeah, no, it's definitely about you.
How are you about me? That's what I want to know.
I'm feeling pretty good about you right now, but we'll see how the rest of the show goes. It could change dramatically.
Because that's what we do at the one where we talk about video games, is we see how the rest of the show goes about video games.
That's true. I mean, there are things that you can have like a level of accuracy where you're like, yeah, 60% correct.
It's not this show.
No, you are 100% correct about what this show is about and what it isn't about. And I think the key here is that when you say, here's what we are about, really what you're saying is take this stuff away because we're about everything that we're not talking about. I've been reading a lot of Nietzsche lately. Everything is bad.
Apparently.
No. How you doing?
God is dead?
We haven't, obviously. We haven't talked in a few days. What's going on? How you doing? What's life like?
Oh man, you caught me so unaware right now. It's good. It's fine. I've played some video games.
Oh, cool. Let's hear about those. I'm curious.
Remember how I got a Switch for Christmas?
I have never forgotten about it. I think about it every night.
It's funny that I keep saying that too, because I think in the months leading up to it, I routinely and emphatically said that my kids were getting a Switch for Christmas.
Yeah.
Funny how that changes so quickly.
It's definitely not something. It's not a toy for children, okay? Let's be clear.
It's been fun though, because normally when I go inside and home life, it's kind of like we turn whatever's on the TV, I eat some food, all that. Now, let's play some Switch. So a lot of Switch. In fact, I made a conscious decision not to even touch Red Dead because I wanted to just have Switch stuff to focus on. Mm-hmm. And it's paid off, let me tell you.
Tell me.
We got 2.5 games with the Switch.
Sure.
The first one was Super Mario Party.
Right. Party up. And
this is going to be really silly for a lot of people, I think, especially if you've played a Super Mario Party, which... Have you played a Super Mario Party? A Mario Party. This is the first Super one.
Oh, well. I think I played one or two maybe, but I've never played like more than a few minutes of it.
Okay.
It was like my experience with Smash Brothers. I played them, but I didn't play them. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. You played a lesser Mario Party.
Yeah, sure. I guess. I don't know.
Big, long history over here. It's something me and my wife played a ton of. I don't think, no, because we never had a N64 together. At one point, I got an ingrown toenail and had to stay home from work and came home with a GameCube. And that's kind of where things began. But Mario Party came not too far after that. And we got 3-4 in a row. I don't know, all the GameCube ones. And they just kept churning them out, it seemed like. And while the criticism around that game, that franchise, is silly in a lot of ways, because it's a family-ish game and it's full of just complete baloney. Mm-hmm. Like, they need to open up a lot of it to chance as such, sure. So you can play with kids and they can sometimes win. And there's a little bit of handicapping that goes on in each. But those of us who know that there have been good Mario parties and bad Mario parties. I don't remember what the best Mario Party was maybe that I played. I remember we had fun with pretty much all of them until the Wii one, I think, which might have been Mario Party 8, which sucked.
All right.
Super Mario Party, the one that I have purchased now for the Switch that I now own, is fantastic. Oh, I love it.
Cool. Up
front, one of the things they do that I think makes the biggest difference and goes deeper than it might seem at first is every character... Each one has a different die now, like that literally has different numbers on it, which seems weird, but there's lots of give and take. Like Bowser's dice is like -2 coins, -2 coins, 0, 1, 2, and then 110 or something like that. So higher risk, higher reward type thing.
Sure, got it.
And each die goes back and forth like that. Like Mario's die is like super center of the road, right?
Sure.
There's ups and downs to each die, but what it does to me, in fact, is surface the numbers in a way, because there were always weird things that went on in the games that affected stuff like that, but you never got to see the actual numbers.
Oh.
In a way, this is surfacing those actual numbers, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But it also adds a layer to the gameplay, because you can choose a die when you play a character, you have a choice between their die or the normal die. And also, as you're going along the board, another game changer is you're picking up allies, and you'll get access to their die as well. So you can choose between these dies you have, and keeping in mind what space you want to land on. So whereas you get a die that has some zeros and a 1 or more 2s on it, and you're thinking, oh, that's just garbage, I'm going to use the other one more often than not. If you're looking at the board, you're like, well, if I roll a 2, that's actually going to be advantageous. So you're actually switching back and forth between the die mechanically.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
It is cool. I like it a lot, actually. I think it adds a lot. And I guess to actually further explain, so Mario Party is typically pretty much a board game. Like you're rolling the die or you're walking around. Each board is different and it's Nintendo themed in some certain way. This time we've got a K-Mech board, which is centered around gold and money and stuff like that.
I like money.
There's a fruit flavored one.
Do you lick your TV?
I mean, you can. My cat actually did try to. My cat doesn't know TVs are fake yet, really. And somebody put the couch or the ottoman too close to the TV, and he literally leapt at the TV, splayed, like didn't go anywhere, just hit the TV, and I don't think scratched it yet. I've been scared to check, but yeah, just kind of like cartoon style slid down the face of it until he fell on the floor.
I like it.
Forget where that was going, but so Mario Party is a board game. Yes, you're traveling around, you're landing on certain spaces that do certain things, and those things change based on the board that you're on. That's Mario Party.
Okay.
Except this time, there's different things about it. Typically, that is it. Like you're picking boards, you're playing them ad nauseum.
Okay, so I don't remember playing the game. I know I did, but I don't remember.
Okay.
So like,
sounds like a Mario Party. Honestly, that's checks out.
Sure. So you're playing a board game, but like, do you do anything? Like, are there like stages and stuff like where you're battling each other in something, or is it seriously just rolling the die and you're just like it's Monopoly? And
then yes, after everybody takes their own turn, it goes into a mini game breakdown.
Okay, there we go. That's what miniature game
yes.
for anybody who's not familiar.
Wherein you earn coins that typically you use to purchase stars. That's how you win the game. Whoever has the most stars at the end of the game wins.
Okay.
And they have that normal mode that's been like every other. But they also have built it into an overworld where you're walking around. The overworld is kind of whatever. They populate it and you can talk to some characters. It's not really adding anything except that there are different modes that you can earn gems for that you then fill out the 5 points on a star. They're called star gems, as you might imagine.
Huh.
I don't know what happens when you get all of them because we've just barely started in on the 5th one, which is a mode where you play through all 80 mini games, but 10 at a time, which you go into the mode, there's another overworld and you go to a thing and you play through the 10 and you're playing in different challenged ways, like beat this score or beat this computer, stuff like that. Beat
your child because they beat you.
That's not in there, not so far. Although I have been playing with my daughter quite a lot, and nothing's come up yet.
Do you sometimes push her over though, like onto the couch? Haha, we're having fun. Oh.
Yes, with those words even. Actually, you know what? There's a dark side of me. You may not know this.
This is already flimsy.
Especially in playing with my family, with my wife, at times where we played a lot of Lego games, and I have played a lot of games in my life, have a high tolerance for games, one might say.
Sure.
That my wife does not share. She enjoys playing the games, especially when we're doing something together like that, but isn't as skilled sometimes and becomes less invested over time.
Sure.
Especially if tired.
Mm-hmm.
So every now and then I will have to curb my frustration with, what are you doing? Type stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I haven't got that with my daughter, and there's probably a good reason for that, and we'll get there. But what was the question? Is there beating kids in the minigame thing? No, there is not.
Circular way to get to that answer, but good. I'm glad we got to the bottom of it. That's okay.
But it has a bunch of other modes. It has a rhythm game mode type thing, which are a bunch of mini games that are actually lumped into the mini games later, but they're all rhythm based, which are really cool because it's using the motion sensing of the Joy-Con. There's a river rafting mode, which is basically just a cooperative thing. You're going down. It's kind of a run-based thing, actually, is what it is. Oh. You're trying to get a certain length down the river, and on the way you can pop balloons to play games or get time bonuses in the river while there are obstacles to up your time. And then if your time runs out, that's how far you got. And, you try again. It's not that hard, so you don't really fail. But it's been another cool co-op thing. The most different mode is called Partner Party. And it changes the board entirely in that normally you are traveling like a board game, like Candyland, along a road.
Yeah.
Partner Party turns it into a strategy game largely in that you're just navigating around a bunch of squares. You roll your dice, you get to combine your rolls. You're also picking up allies. And if you go on for a while, you can pick up like 3, 4, 5 allies. And we're just playing 10-turn games. So you could probably do even more than that. It gets a little hectic and chaotic and fun, though, because you're rolling all this stuff and it's giving you a bunch of spaces to move. So then you have to navigate your way around the board in just a, like a grid.
Yeah, I got you.
So it's really cool. It really does change up the game. And I've just been super surprised. Yeah, it's a really good game, I would say, especially for families.
And how are the kids doing with it? Like, how's...
Great. She freaking loves it. She loves Mario Kart more, which we'll get into. But
I don't know anybody that would say Mario Party over Mario Kart. Like, who are those people? And stop them from playing Nintendo.
They're out there.
They're
now waiting for you.
Yeah, okay, X-Files. Book club for movies, Thursdays.
So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Black Yoshi is my main.
Sure.
It's been a weird... because everybody's heard so much about this game already, including myself. I've heard all the Game of the Year discussions on it, in fact. And out the gate, I don't think I got all that. I mean, maybe my expectations were set too high. Sure. Probably a bad way to go into any game like this. I had already played it a little bit with you, like I said, at PAX anyways, and enjoyed it just fine. Like, we had a blast with, I think, mostly battle mode. But
I forgot we did that.
Doing the first couple cups, I didn't really get the Game of the Year stuff. I was like, this is another Mario Kart. This is as good as it's ever been. There have been some smart choices, like they brought back the 2 question marks at once thing, so you can have 2 power-ups at once, which is something they did for Double Dash, which is the game we hands down have played more than any other Mario Kart. That was another one we had for the GameCube. With
that was definitely the one I played the most, actually.
I loved it.
When the minute you say that name, I'm like, oh, yeah. That was the one.
Freaking ton of Double Dash. I mean, as a kid growing up, SNES Mario Kart and N64 Mario Kart also.
Sure.
Just hundreds upon hundreds of hours, because I didn't play a game and finished it back then. It just was the one we had, and I had 3 brothers and sisters. So, yes. But what they've done, what I found out that they did with this game, eventually, after being like, oh, this is good as it's ever been, I realized they have 12 cups now to go through instead of just the 3, even though they did the 50, 100, 150cc mirror, right? Is everything they used to have.
Yep.
They have 200cc on this one now, but they also have 12 freaking cups, and they're culling from all of the past Mario games. So I'm getting some of my old GameCube tracks in there. I'm getting some of the N64 tracks in there. I'm getting some of the Super Nintendo tracks in there, which are freaking great. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
all of them.
For sure. And I actually, I think that I agree with you in every respect. This is it's definitely, for me, I think it's the best Mario Kart game. And I love that you have, like, there is such a lineage of that game all presented right here.
Right.
And it, again, it speaks to, this is one of those series that kind of speaks to how much Nintendo pays attention, I think, in certain respects, whereas other respects they completely ignore things. But this is one where because I think that the new stuff, the new levels too, I think they're great. I think they're really fun. They totally look fantastic. They're enjoyable to race around.
And some of them are still throwbacks even. Like, they're not remasters of older tracks. There's like an F-Zero track. In fact, there's 2 F-Zero tracks in there. And they're not... actually, they might be reminiscent of... I didn't play the GameCube F-Zero, I think, very much at all. I want to say I bought it. But anyway, the freaking... Oh, one of my favorite ones is new. It's an Excitebike track.
It's so fun.
Freaking love it, man. Fun. It's awesome. Yeah. And part of that, especially that track, is that they have still added in some new mechanics to this thing. You get a small boost when you do jumps off of any jump. You get a small boost when you land. The drifting has now been changed. Remember on N64, you actually had to oppose the joystick.
Yeah.
Like, you had to go back and forth on the Switch to change the color of your boost to get more boost when you were drifting around the corners.
Yeah.
Now it's just length based, which is fine. And some of the tracks adapt to that, even though I still find myself doing the stick thing just out of habit.
Right.
It's
Sure.
kind of funny.
Sure.
But I think that was a smart change. There are flight controls, which added to the game and was fun. And if you've seen even just the Mario Kart 8 logo, like it looks like a loop that's going a Mobius loop in different directions and stuff like that. That's because there's a bunch of different directionality to this. Your wheels turn into hover wheels and you cling to walls, even though in actual practice you don't notice a whole lot of difference because you're always right side up. But there, every now and then you'll take off and a glider will pop out and you will glide. My wife kept just not being able to make a lot of the jumps and couldn't figure it out. And I didn't like dig in to try and find out, because a lot of the times I'm just like, it'll work itself out. Like, I don't know what you're doing different. Maybe it's the cart you've got or something like that.
Right.
And my daughter comes up to both of us and is like, oh no, when you're flying, you can use the stick to go up and down. So just airplane controls and you can actually lengthen your flight. We had no idea. I had no idea. Single oldest I have ever felt in my entire life. Not even just playing video games, just period. My daughter comes up and is like, "Oh, this is how you play games, Dad."
So fun story about what you just told me.
Okay.
I did not know that until right now.
How old do you feel?
Older than I did before. Probably not as old as you, because I think you're older than me. But
I forget which one of us is older routinely, actually. So
all I know is we're both on the same path to death.
Fair. Okay. Yes. If the Mario Kart's taught me anything, it's that.
Yeah, the Mario Kart path of death. There's only so many times you go around the track, Ryan, and then you get blue shelled. That's what life is. One giant chase away from a blue shell.
Oh man, I'm glad you mentioned blue shells too. So, in progressing through the quote unquote single player of sorts, or the Grand Prix mode, they've not only given you, the trophies, you get bronze, silver, gold. If you get perfect, so you get first on every track, all 4 tracks in the Grand Prix, you get 3 stars. So they've introduced my favorite thing from games is perfect runs. Not that I can't not do it, because for 50cc, 100cc, and I think 2 tracks short of 150cc, I've been able to get the 3 stars. But man, when I got to the 150cc because rubber banding has been a thing. Oh, the computer cheats. Like, that's literally the favorite line from Mario Kart that everybody knows.
Because it's true.
Quote unquote. I didn't get any of that until and I was so happy about it. I was like, oh, finally they've figured out rubber banding like every other racing game in the world at this point. Like Forza Horizon 3 was the last one I played. From what I remember, if rubber banding was a thing, it was backgrounded so much that it didn't, like, if you did well at a race, you got way ahead of everybody because you're good at the race.
Yeah,
right?
That didn't happen in Forza at all.
Nothing wrong with that nowadays. Developers have rightfully figured out. And I thought Nintendo had figured out for the most part, but apparently I was just playing easy mode. 150cc, man, there's the hot garbage, I found out. And it feels worse. It's hard to tell because it's so frustrating, but it feels worse than it's ever been. Like, they've maybe got some part of the balance actually wrong. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust myself on that actual critique, but it just so many times happens at the last moment. You get hit by 10 things in perfect succession. Final lap of the final race of the Grand Prix.
Yep.
And you're in 6th place and you don't get the 3 stars, even though you might get a gold trophy, but what does that matter anymore?
No, who cares?
So,
I mean, throw the game away at that point.
Exactly. That's my only gripe, maybe, if that's a real gripe. Or I'm just bad at video games. I'm going to check with my daughter on that later. I'll let you know.
Well, you're old. Maybe you don't know how to play. Maybe you're not playing it right.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you fly?
Have you put the stick? Have you used the stick and pushed up on it?
Oh, see, I felt old when my daughter told me that, but I didn't actually understand the words. And now, having told you that and having you told it back to me.
Yeah, it's not only the lack of interpretation from a child. I'm mansplaining it to you. So yeah,
good. I thought you were manscaping the whole time.
I still am. Yeah, I haven't stopped.
Right, I haven't been able to see your hands.
It's a tandem thing. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. I'm glad we could figure this out.
Yeah. All right. What
Mario
else?
Kart, bringing people together and or apart
Well,
and or splaining.
yeah, shaving.
Splading. Yes. Okay.
Arms akimbo.
We also got 2 Labos. We haven't got into the vehicle Labo, which I didn't know. The first number 1, they have names. Labo 01 it has a vehicle in it that I didn't know you could actually use with Mario Kart. So that's going to be cool whenever that happens. I think it's that one actually. I don't know. I got Labo 03 as well, and that's vehicle focused and literally has a steering wheel and a gas pedal that you can also use with Mario Kart.
I want to find out how that works.
Eventually, we will. These things take like hours and hours to build. We've only gone through 3 so far. One of them's the remote control car thing, which you might have seen. It looks like a bug, kind of. You just put the controllers in there, and the vibration of the controllers makes the thing move.
Weird.
Literally.
All right.
Yeah. It's cool. It adds a couple things because one of the controllers has an IR thing on it, right? So they actually make that look like a night vision camera that you can bring up on the controls because you put the remotes in the car and it's moving with what you do on the Switch. Is kind of a handheld, and it's got a camera. And there's a couple. It's more of a toy. It's kind of a trinket thing. In fact, that goes for all of Labo. It's more of a toy than anything. Although my daughter is really enjoying the games. The other thing we built was the fishing pole. I'm sure you've seen some stuff of. Freaking loving that. It's all like super fun to build. The fishing pole I built with her, and that was fun. The piano was the thing she did after that, which is another thing that I think people have focused on most of all, and so far is even cooler than the fishing rod. The piano is cooler than the fishing rod. I love all of the statements. Take all of the clips out of this show, everybody.
This is right here. We're done for the year after this.
Just generally speaking.
Best of.
But the piano she did all on her own because when she got into the fishing, it turns out there's a whole third of the game that's called Discover that teaches you about this stuff, which we probably should have found earlier because especially with the fishing, we were like, I get how to play this generally speaking because it's a fishing pole and I'm fishing. You put the fish in the upright case that you've also built and it turns into a thing that shows your line and you're reeling in, stuff like that. Obviously, we figured that out pretty quick. We didn't get the mechanics to it. This Discover part teaches you the mechanics to it more. It also taught her that using the piano, you could cut out your own fish shape, put it in the piano, scan it, and turn it into a fish that would then populate in your aquarium, which is another thing that shows up in the Discover. Yeah, it's it's so weird. A lot of what they've done is just weird, classic Nintendo, like out of the box with boxes thinking.
I feel like I'm learning about a physical version of the game Seaman. Like, I don't know what you're telling me right now. It's none of this makes sense.
They could have put that in here.
Missed
opportunity.
Maybe you should see if you can print him out. And put
you're right. Maybe I can. I'll try. It has not been as easy as you might think. It seems. The fish is created from the negative space. So that took a little bit to figure out. We were trying to make a fish in the shape of an E for my daughter, Evelyn, and didn't quite. It seems to mirror it at some point. I don't know. I'll work on it. Seaman looks normal, right? He should be easy to create.
Oh, sure. Fish with a human face on it. How could it be any unnormal? Quoting.
Another clip. Man, we're just full of them. I felt, especially, again, in a lot of the end of the year stuff, a lot of talk about Labo and how it didn't necessarily fulfill on a lot of different things. I would say those people are not taking full advantage of the thing and or don't have kids. I could see how non-kids people would get this and be like, okay, I did pretty much everything in it. It's geared towards kids. So if you're not going to give it some leeway for that, then you're not going to like it anyways. Unless you like building stuff, because I think that part's still really strong. But if you are kind of wringing everything that's to be wrung from Labo, there is actually a ton there, and it's super fun, and I love what they've done with it, and I think it's an incredible thing, Labo.
Nice.
Like, highly recommended.
Dig it.
So that's almost my trip down Switch Lane.
Okay.
Thanks to you, I'm also a member of Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah, you are. It's a very exclusive club.
Part of your family.
You are.
Even, it seems.
You are.
It's never been so official.
It's true. This is how we define it.
And with that came all of the NES games that we've gone through, I feel like, a few times, and they've added some, I think, recently even. But something we haven't talked about is that they have Gradius, so I did play that because that's the only requirement for me to play it is for somebody to have it.
Sure.
To exist somewhere. What they have also been doing are these kind of specials. I don't know if you've dipped into those at all. There's a little badge on them. The way they're surfaced, there's a bunch up top that look like they're kind of like putting these front and center. And then there's just a bigger list down below of just all of them. But front and center, they also have some of them that have the box art and a little special badge. And those are the things where if you click on them, you will play the game, but it'll start you at a predetermined point. And Gradius starts you, I want to say like 2 levels from the end with full upgrades.
Sure.
You done any of these yet?
I have not.
I'm kind of loving them. And I especially love that one because, I love me some Gradius. I play it, anytime, and there's fun to be had from square one. But there's also fun to be had from 2 levels before the end with full power-ups.
Sure.
Especially because they're not starting you on the last boss, which I think is smart too. Like they could have just done that and they're like, hey, you want to see the ending cinematic, as it were? Here you go. But they don't. They start you 2 levels before, and I still had to save scum my way through that. Because they give you game freezes as well you can do. So it's not like a gimme. And there's still a level of challenge to it, and you're getting just a chunk of the game that you don't always get, because when you go back to play Gradius, you play the first couple levels and you're like, I still like that game. Bye.
But I can't complete it, so
right. So that's super cool. I haven't gone deep enough to see what other games they're doing that with, but that was super awesome to get that. I beat it. I clipped that final cinematic if you want to watch it on my user, which I don't even know if something that Switch supports.
I have no idea. I've never tried it.
Okay, all right. I haven't added you as a friend yet either. So
well, that's fair. I mean, family and friends are different things.
Oh. Do you have any games to talk about before I smoothly transition this into news?
No, I got nothing.
Really? Not a one?
Not really. I mean, I played more WWE 2K19. That's cool. I will say this. Okay,
we're going to talk about that.
I'll talk about the one individual thing that kind of actually matters or makes sense or whatever. These games typically don't have a so much as a single player thing. You can usually kind of do like a my wrestler thing where you create your own wrestler and there's kind of a story with it. But it's the same story that, in every game, it's any wrestling game, and it's you want to win the championship. So you're going through and you'll go through and you'll have tag matches with people, and you'll decide if you want to be the, a heel or a face and fight people or, interrupt things.
What is a face?
A face is a good guy, heel's a bad guy.
Okay. The heel I had. Okay.
Short for baby face.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense.
It does. Babyface. It's nice.
For a while, it was like, it's like the opposite end of the body from the heel.
Also
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
and the full word for like the full thing for heel is face heel. So
really?
Or baby heel. I'm sorry.
Wait, what? Oh. I don't know what's real anymore.
I screwed up the joke. It doesn't. Nothing matters.
0HITPOINTS.
Here, I'll try it again.
No.
Baby heel. Oh yes! God, I'm just crushing it. So you can usually do that. I haven't even checked to see if that's in this game before. It was in the last couple of games. This game though has it's called showcase mode, and it's
short for babyface showcase.
No, it's just a trophy case from things in the W. And you don't get to do anything. Right. You get to like pull. No, it's you play as Daniel Bryan throughout his career in WWE, and between each match, there's like a video presentation like with him, and he explains what's going on. And the main reason they did this is for like 4 or 5 years, I don't remember how long it was, he had gotten injured, and doctors had said, we don't know if you're ever going to wrestle again. The medical doctors for WWE said, we're not clearing you, like, ever. You're never wrestling again.
Like actual medical doctors, or like written doctors from WWE that were like, you'll never wrestle again, and then they rip off their smock?
No, this was neither a threat nor a work. It was it was real life. He did injure himself. He injured his neck severely, and his back. And he had been told by the WWE that you're never going to wrestle again. We're not going to clear you.
Okay, wait. Let's not go too far. That's a great storyline, though, right? Somebody's done that before, where the doctors come out and said you'll never wrestle again, and then the wrestler has wrestled that doctor, right? Like that's happened.
Oh, sure. Why wouldn't it?
Just want to make sure it's not wasted.
Always fight doctors. That's what I say.
Right?
They're like, here's bad news. Give them a suplex right in the middle of the hospital. Who cares?
Yeah. You've got cancer. Do I?
Swinging neck breaker. So in between all the matches and stuff, you go through his career, you play as him in the various matches. He explains the matches and talks about it. And it's a really cool thing because the last year he was finally medically cleared to come back, and he's been wrestling ever since. And it was a big deal because he had, like I said, he had been told you're not going to wrestle again. And then he started working harder, working harder than he'd ever had before. Then he finally got external doctors. He had multiples to say, yeah, you can wrestle. You're good. Kind of interesting. They don't mention this in the game, but WWE finally cleared him because his contract was coming up, and he definitely would have left to go wrestle somewhere else because that's what he wants to do. He didn't want to be like a backstage guy or the general manager who comes out and I'm sanctioning this match when it was already set up. He's just a talking thing, and it's a goofy add-on.
I gotta say, and this is just tangent material now, but you are getting me dangerously close to getting like actually not even just like from a distance interested in wrestling because I grew up in the 80s, so it's part and parcel.
Oh, sure.
But and what was you mentioned there's like a new organization that's like starting, so I'm like, oh, that feels like it'd be good to start with
All Elite Wrestling, AEW.
Okay,
yeah. And they're going to be, that's a really interesting promotion already because they've got huge financial people behind them. They're actually the people that are behind AEW are the Khans, and the Khans are the owners of, if I remember correctly, not the Jaguars, but the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, the NFL team.
Okay.
They own an NFL team. These guys have money. And the people they're basically backing it and kind of stepping away. And the people they have taking over and running the thing are guys that and guys and women that are super, like, they're in the business. They've been wrestling. They still are to a point. They know what wrestlers need, what they want, how to keep them around. So some of the people they've signed were like, whoa, nobody saw that person coming. And then the fact that they were coming out and they've made a big deal over the fact that pay is going to be normalized for the various levels. So the men and the women are going to be paid the exact same depending on where they are in, if they're lower card, they're not going to make as much as mid or upper, but they're going to make the same as the men and all that.
And now you know why I said dangerously close and tangent and et cetera, et cetera. WWE 2K.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it was cool to go through all of those matches. And for me, remembering a bunch of them, because I watched them, I was there, I saw them on TV, I was paying attention, and again, it's such a cool, like, that guy has such an interesting story to begin with, where he was an indie wrestler, like almost everybody is. He was an indie wrestler, gets picked up by WWE, gets fired, gets picked up again, gets fired again, gets picked up again, floats around.
Is there actual separation between like storylines and reality? I feel like the lines are blurred between what's actually going on behind the scenes with getting, like you said, fired and hired and all this stuff. And do they work it into the actual writing for the stuff sometimes?
It really, really, really depends. And more often than not, no, because it's kind of when they separate from somebody, that's pretty much all they say. It's, we've separated from this person, we wish them the best. And then that person goes. I'm
sorry, I keep asking you questions.
No,
this is literally,
but the reality of that business, and I mean, and it's cool to talk about this to a point because it's represented in that mode. And the general idea with wrestling is if it's on TV, it's a work, it's fake. But when you hear somebody off, like they're off work, they're not there, and they're doing a shoot where they're talking exactly about what happened backstage. There are plenty of, they get fired all the time. People get let go. They get picked up. They get let go again. They get transferred to a different show. They get transferred. So
it's like any other corporation or business.
It is.
It's just how it goes. for the half-naked oily man.
That's right. You got to be greased. If you're not greased, you're not going to be, you got to be slippery. But with wrestlers in general, they're contractors. They're not actually employees. So that's why you're fired because you broke this rule that allows us to break your contract. So
also your neck, you broke that too.
Yeah, swinging neck breaker. That would be my special maneuver. Love it.
Hey, so the game WWE 2K19.
Yeah.
Recommended? Enjoyed?
I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's, it's got all the same problems every other WWE game has, which is there are always some weird glitchy things because for some reason, they're all
problems. What are you talking about?
No, they're almost universally hilarious. Like they rarely ever do anything that impacts the game because you go, whoa, and every single match you play, it doesn't matter what mode you're in. If it's a full match, you can just do a rematch and refight it again. So.
They should be building that into the create a move type thing, like where you just clip through the mat. Like that's how it starts. Like clip underneath, and then you go under, and then you clip back out, and then do something. I don't know. My
favorite one that I've seen, and I think I have it clipped on my PlayStation. I'll have to check because I got it on PlayStation. Was I got thrown over the top ropes and out of the ring, and whoever was in the ring was like walking forward and they were just walking into the ropes instead of going over them or coming out of the ring, and the rope started stretching and then the rope became like a giant V, and they were like they started floating in the air and they were like running, and then I got up, I got back in the ring, and the ring ropes went wing and we just went back to normal. I don't know.
I love it.
My favorite video game glitch GIF of all time is from a WWE game, and it's and I'll try to find it, but it's
tweet that out or something.
It's the referee, and he's like, and he's his arm is like inside his body, and he's standing there, and it just makes him go, whoo, and he's got like he does like a windmill point.
I've seen that. That's right. Yeah, okay, that's a classic.
I love it. It makes me laugh a lot.
Picture the motions that Matt made to camera. Yeah. Everybody.
You guys got it.
You viewers at home.
Yeah, this is a visual medium, podcasting.
And now we might be all caught up with games. Good. Think about it. That's it.
All right. Are there other games in the world that we need to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there was like kind of a transition from Nintendo to news, but that got shot. So
well, let's go. Let's
Speaking
stop.
of broken necks,
here we go.
I
got this. I got this.
Okay.
All right. So I like wrestling. I think wrestling's fun, so I like the WWE games. There's always been some interesting games out there throughout their kind of career.
I feel like we've accidentally just started talking about wrestling again. Sorry, please.
To get back,
I didn't ruin it.
But the another kind of wrestling that I also enjoy is the wrestling that Psyonix had to do with Sony to get cross-platform going.
You know the best part of that?
Let me tell you.
It's not even the news item we're going for.
Let me tell you, though.
Okay. All right.
Psyonix got the pin. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
PS4, Xbox, Switch, Rocket League. Go play it. PC. It's all done. That's the whole news item. We can move on from that.
That is a news item. Yeah. The transitional segue-ish.
I already did that.
One you might have missed was the whole, maybe you don't want to talk about this, the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, the data miners that went into Nintendo Switch Online and found a whole bunch of stuff in reference to Super Nintendo games.
You should have brought that up like an hour ago.
That's what I'm saying. This is where it was gonna go. All we really have is a list.
You ruined that.
Did I ruin that?
Yeah, because you should have gone into that from Gradius. You should have been like, oh, and also along with these Nintendo games, we have a list, and then you could have just skipped over.
But then we're in the news, and you had played some games.
Yeah, but who
and
cares? I spent way too much time talking about wrestling. Not even the game itself. I was talking about the actual people doing things.
None of this is my fault.
Okay, that's fair. You're in charge of the show, so you're the host. I do what you say.
All we have with this thing is a list. My least favorite part about this whole thing is the people who are like, Super Nintendo games are coming to Switch. Like, yeah, they are. They put them on the Wii U. If they were going to put them on the Switch, then nobody's... Okay, it was going to happen. The only question here, maybe... Number one, we get a possible list we can go through and say, hey, I like these games. Mm-hmm. Number two, will it be part of the subscription as it stands? Will it be an additional tier? Which, yes, and me and you had a little bit of a conversation about this off camera. yes, it would be stupid if it was an additional tier, like, it's more money a month and then we add the Super Nintendo games. Yes, that would be patently absurd. But it's Nintendo. So, and, they might look at, like Xbox Silver and Xbox Gold and Diamond. I didn't forget.
Yeah, I am a card-carrying member of the Diamond Club.
They might look at stuff like that, and be like, oh, they did a tiered service. Here's our tiered service in our weird, like mimicry of human behavior that we see that we do because we're Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the Nintendo games are always going to come. How, I guess, is we'll see. The games that this list, and this is coming from at Cappuccino Heck on Twitter. He's probably got he's in charge of something. What do we got here? Oh, he's a modder in the Nintendo community. Wait, the Nintendo community has modders?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Why not?
But the games list is a good, believable list. Super Mario Kart, Super Soccer, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Demon's Crest, Yoshi's Island, Stunt Race FX, Kirby's Dream Course, Poppin' Twinbee, which I myself have never heard of, but I can imagine somebody just also saw the name and was like, oh yeah, we got to include that one. Star Fox, Contra 3, Kirby Superstar, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, because you hate yourself, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Super Metroid, Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, F-Zero, and then if he follows up, he must have hit the character limit, Star Fox 2, Super Punch-Out, Legend of the Mystical Ninja, Super Mario All-Stars, Breath of Fire 2. It's a believable list. They hit all of the marks, and I love that Star Fox 2 would be on there, even though there's some talk about how it's cannibalizing the classic stuff.
Well, they're definitely cannibalizing it. I mean, but the thing is, the way you've got to kind of look at that is, you can go spend the $50 on that or $90, whatever it costs. I don't know. I think it's $60, right?
$100? No, yeah. The PS Classic went down to 60 over the weekend, I think.
Yeah, well, I think I saw the NES Classic at 50 and I think 60 at Target, but I think the Super Nintendo one is more. In any case,
we don't know.
In any case, it's impossible to tell. With the Switch, you've already spent $200 some or whatever it costs. I don't even remember how much it costs anymore. $300.
$300.
So you spent $300 on that. Then you're spending another, if you're doing the family plan, $40 for the online. I just don't see them doing that yet. And I think that's also like doing the tiered thing. But I think that's why it's also like they're not concerned about the cannibalization, because the people that are going to buy the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic are not necessarily going to cross over to the people who own a Switch. So
sign up for an online video gaming service. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that. I will say, in terms of that list, there are 3 games that I am very thrilled about.
All right, top 3. Here we go.
Link to the Past. Got to play Link to that game is it's definitely my favorite Zelda game, period, and I've played through that more than any other Zelda game by a large margin.
Yep.
Super Mario All-Stars. I loved that game because
really
it had some fun stuff going to it, and I wish.
The Super Mario All-Stars was the one that had, like, it has all the Mario, as the Mario trilogy, plus, if I remember, the Lost Levels, which actual Super Mario 2 in Japan or something.
No, I think that they were actually just levels that were either not added or not completed or something.
No, they came out in Japan in some form, and again, there's no way to tell, and who looks up stuff before podcasts, but...
Oh, that's right. Lost Levels was the original Super Mario Brothers 2. In Japan.
Okay, so that was it. All right. Because Super Mario Brothers 2 was Doki Doki Panic in Japan.
Which also I enjoyed that game as well. But All-Stars Lost Levels, man, I loved that game because I'd played so much of the other games to go back to what was essentially, Super Mario Brothers the first like Super Mario Brothers 3, but at 2 level, and it was just a weird thing. Really like that. And then the last one that you mentioned, or the last one that's on there, is Stunt Racer FX.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't think I have any idea.
I played that was a game that I totally rented all the time from Blockbuster. I like that game a lot.
Oh, now I gotta look it up. Stunt.
It was like a polygonal game too, if I remember correctly.
It was like a Mode 7. Oh yeah, that's Mode 7.
Yeah.
It is cool to see them, especially with Star Fox, getting the Mode 7 in there. I mean, it's always funky with
now,
chips and whatnot.
If they could, the only thing they could add to this that would bring me like just the ultimate joy is if they would add all the Super Star Wars games. Dude,
I mean, they'll cycle them in and out. That one, I mean, that's third party and it's Star Wars license. So
yeah, I don't think it'll ever show up. But man, if we could get Super Star Wars, Super Empire, Super Jet, oh god, the amount of time, the amount of hours.
The amount of hours you would spend playing the first level of all of those games would be immeasurable.
Oh, no way. I'd finish all those.
You think so?
Oh,
all
definitely.
Right. I tell you what, speaking of Super Mario All-Stars, that didn't click with me because I think I didn't gather that they had kept in the physics from the older games. So yeah, I would go back and play the Super Mario Brothers and it would look new, but play old, and I didn't. Something was weird about it for me. I didn't. In fact, I want to say I might have that cartridge actually sitting a foot away from me. But if that does come to this thing, I will play through the lost levels because I never ever did for that reason. So
super fun.
And that's the news item we blew past. Let's not even talk about it. We already mentioned Rocket League. It is now cross-platform, including Switch. In fact, it was another Switch segue even I could have kept doing. Look at that. See all the sex ways?
That's a very different kind of mode of transportation.
Yeah, you might think so. But we should keep going and get to these last two things that they could take up. I don't know if this first of the last two things takes up that much time other than what?
I think that's that's actually the reaction I had when I read this. I went, what?
But then we can get into some of this. Destiny, actually, is what we can get into. Gearbox, a while ago, in fact, I'm pretty sure we did mention this. They had a lawyer that went sour on them, and not even just went sour on them, went rogue on them. And I should have, again, looked up more stuff about this in the previous story concerning him. But why it's in the news again is that he is countersuing, which is that's what happens. Somebody gets sued for $1 million. You countersue the person that's suing you, so it gets taken down or whatever. There comes to a settlement, something like that. Wade Callender, the name of the lawyer the Gearbox was suing for, they said he did a bunch of business expenses he shouldn't have. He financed a home and I think maybe some education or a loan of some sort using Gearbox in a way he wasn't supposed to. What the countersuit is alleging is even crazier because it's saying that Randy Pitchford took a, quote, secret, and there's a article everywhere, but we're taking from Kotaku here. Quote, secret $12 million bonus from publisher Take-Two Interactive as an advance against Borderlands profits. Are they Borderlands 1? Is that for reals?
I guess. I don't know if it's just the first game or if it's it's not real clear, and I'm not going to read through the actual court papers, but it's not clear if it's the first game or if it's the franchise. I'm guessing it's the first game. And
see, that's nuts to me, though. Like, that might be the most crazy thing he alleges, because Gearbox was on the ropes with the first Borderlands. Like, Borderlands 1 was make or break for Gearbox. If that game had bombed, Gearbox would not be here, basically, or definitely not in the capacity that they are now. I would believe more that he was taking a $12 million secret bonus on Borderlands 2, because that was going to be a hit. That was going to make money no matter what after Borderlands 1, right?
Probably.
So yeah,
I would assume. I don't know. I don't think that made any money. The
other thing he alleges is that Pitchford left a USB drive full of company secrets and underage pornography. That's how you get in the law involved. At a restaurant that got picked up by somebody, I don't know.
Like a busboy or something.
Yeah, and accessed and whatever, which turns out is at least half true by Pitchford's own admission already. And this is Schreier on Kotaku, so he's going to do the legwork. And he did, and found him on a podcast, which this is a family one. So we won't, family in quotes, even if you want to, sure. But we don't need to go into the details here about what he said on that podcast. But apparently,
the phrase barely legal comes into play here.
Okay,
let's just go with that.
That is a phrase used by him, which is why I use the phrase, what? So I don't even know what to take away from this, I guess, is the thing, and why I don't necessarily think we need to spend the time that we would spend on this next thing.
Or the time. You know what's funny is I have a feeling we're going to spend less time on that than we already have on this.
Well, that's because I might surprise you with some things, but I don't know. What do you have anything with this Gearbox thing? Everybody's talking about it, so I feel like we might as well mention it. It's just full of weird, stupid.
For me, I am a huge fan of being overly litigious for no reason. So, I'm hoping that this becomes an episode of Law and Order or something.
Well, I always hope that, to be honest, but
it's got to have Sam Waterston in it. Otherwise, I don't care. That's the problem with these shows.
That's the problem with shows nowadays.
Yeah.
No Sam Waterston. Like we're attacking the problem like an old man with an old man.
That was Law and Order, right? Sam Waterston.
Yeah, no, that was Sam Waterston. He also in Newsroom did a fantastic job.
Well, sure.
Worth watching.
Book Club for Movies Thursdays.
His SNL also.
Yeah. Super naughty list.
Okay, so what? I don't know.
I don't know. You know what?
Moving on.
We're done here. You know what? Let's just move on to the end of the show. Let's just do the capper. Okay.
Okay. This will be the capper. And for reasons you may not even know, Matt, I'm going to start from the very beginning. The headline is that Destiny has separated with Activision and taken the baby with them.
Bungie, not Destiny.
Maintain ownership of Destiny. Yeah. Did I say? What did I say?
You said
I
Destiny left Activision, which is true.
Does Destiny ask for its money back? Does
Die Hard...
But Bungie has separated from Activision, taken Destiny with them. I want to start a little bit from the beginning on this, especially to make it the capper, because us in particular have a just strange and lovely history with this franchise. Not even this developer, I would say. Like, whatever history we have with Halo has been surpassed by our history with Destiny, I think, at this point.
Oh, yeah. No, it's...
And that history is, I was never going to buy the game.
This is my fault. That's the end result.
Okay. I will move quickly on this. I wasn't going to buy it because it definitely didn't look like my thing, even though I hadn't played like anything like that before. It seemed like an MNO. How many hours have we been doing this now? It's just not my type of thing. And I got the game. I think maybe you even still got it first, and I was like, no, I'm not going to. And then I got it and was like, hey, look what I did. And then we played the game together. Loved it at differing points. And while you may have forgotten completely about the love part of it, I've got a text conversation I'd like to revisit with your permission.
The fact that you dug this up just is this is like You're going back to Twitter right now, and you're finding my 2012s. Am I James Gunn? Am I getting James Gunn right now?
Oh, in a way, yes. This is your James Gunn analog. Will you be fired from 0 hit points? It depends on whether or not the Cernoviches of our fan base call for it. This is how we root them out, actually. So this surrounds an activity. Do you remember when we did everything we needed to do to get our, what were they called? Swords?
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
Okay.
The sword thing was,
so
that was actually like the coolest thing we did. I remember
Swordgate.
That was actually exciting and fun and a worthwhile mission.
All right. So, you're going to remember a lot of this then. We, at this point, had a conversation because I was still enjoying the game. In fact, I guess you were too at this point. Neither one of us had soured on it in the ways that we soured on it, you more than I. I still look back fondly on a lot of that and probably will return to it eventually because I'm missing some stuff with Taken King. But we had this conversation where you were trying to get me to complete that quest as well. I had helped you get your sword, and I think probably, was it Sean too? I can't remember.
Somebody else. I think it was just somebody else we had on our friends list. It might have been Batman. It was Batman.
Oh, was it Batman?
It was Batman.
Oh, shoot, Batman. Bringing Batman to this. Batman, if you're out there. Good. But
he's silent in the night.
But then it came time, and you're like, all right, let's get your sword. And I was like, oh, no, I wasn't in for it for the sword. And then this conversation happened. Again, is it cool if I go into this? Okay,
yeah,
right. So however this started, you begin, I don't know, but you've completed the whole thing. That's rad. I think speaking of your own sword quest, because I had done that, we can do your sword next week. And I'm like, seriously, I don't want to take the time. I will paraphrase. Honestly, I think it's a mistake not to take the time Maybe we never play again after I get my exotic or something weird, but the swords are good in the raids. Plus, I still think putting us on equal footing with this story would be a great written or convo piece for the site. To which I respond something along the lines of, yes, but we've already actually done it, so we have the story if we want it, regardless of whether I do it or not. Because I'm honestly don't want to take the time, is what it is. That back then I was like, I got too much other stuff to do. This isn't what's important, blah, 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 all this stuff. You respond, you are a stubborn fool. To which I respond something along the lines of, time. To which you respond, right, but this is great, emphasis on great stuff. And to which I finally, I think, semi-give up and just say, Destiny is the weirdest thing of all time, hands down. You respond, this is one of those things that I think might not seem great right now, but I think after it will. At the which point, the light bulb comes on in my head. In fact, that's my written piece, that whole weird Destiny journey. To which you respond, which is great. Let it kind of culminate in this, speaking of getting my sword. To which I respond, and you're just feeding it, this is great. And then Destiny became what it became for both of us, which is to say everything and nothing in a way.
That's actually a really good way of putting it.
I don't know.
You're not wrong. When we started playing it, I liked the game. It was pretty good. It was fun. That story just got more and more miserable and bad, and then
story are you referring to?
Yeah, and then the voice acting was awful.
Oh, and then there was that thing, yeah.
I don't mind grinding to a point, but that game just lost everything for me after it. Like, it just was boring. It was no longer interesting. And then the DLCs came out. It didn't help. The stories, and that was a place you and I diverged too.
No, Taken King helped, but I think by then you were mostly gone.
Well, and I was open to Taken King. I was like, all right, let's see if they up the.
We still did play a lot of Taken King. That's true.
Let's up the story. Let's see what happens. Nope, fell flat completely and utterly because it was essentially trying to retell and fix crap that they didn't have in the original story, and they did such a bad job with that.
It was just this nutso roller coaster that probably hasn't ended by all accounts. In fact, maybe we roll this into the actual news item. Has not ended in that their 10-year plan has become an 8-year plan with Activision as far as that's concerned. And neither of us played Destiny 2, so maybe this has less to do with that even. But I think history overall is important because where does this game go? Like, I would have been confused or stumped with where does Destiny go from here, from Destiny 2, period, because even Destiny 2 was like, well, it had to happen because they needed to fix like deep things about that game.
Yeah.
But now Destiny 3, I don't even know. Like Destiny 2, I don't feel like was successful enough that they turned this into the platform, like just Destiny, like lop off the 2 or something. Do they still sequelize it? And then now that they're independent, like they say that one of the quotes from there, and they did a statement, was that we'll continue to deliver on the existing Destiny roadmap, but as an independent company, are they raking it in with this thing still?
Yeah, it's a weird question, man, because they gave Destiny 2 freaking away on PC. They were like, here, take it.
And PS4. I got it on PS4.
Yeah, there you go. So like the fact that they are giving that away, I think that's probably telling. Then the fact that in comparison to the first one, you just don't hear anything about this game anymore. The only time you hear something is when Bungie, it's something to do with Bungie. It's got next to nothing to do with the game itself.
I mean, I guess I do hear some stuff, like with this last one, Forsaken. I've heard enough about it, and I've heard it's gotten people to go back. But now, in fact, I want to say Forsaken's been out for a number of weeks and or months already, and it's gone again. Like, I just don't hear about it from anybody anymore.
And the last stuff that I heard about it was people still being frustrated with how much of that game works. Like, yep. This goes back to early on in this game's lifetime. People were upset with how they chose to do the weapons and how they basically regenerated. They took apart the weapon system and redid it, and it frustrated a lot of people.
Right, with Destiny 2, yeah.
Not because they were like, oh yeah, no, the old way was how I'm used to it. It was because the way they chose to move forward with it and everything just didn't really make sense. And then they added the masterwork weapons, which people got frustrated by because they were, mediocre. And then it just seemed like that game has been a never-ending quandary for Bungie. And for as much as they may have put into it. It seems like they misread a lot of things with the sequel. They misread a lot of things with the follow-up DLCs. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I do wonder, did Activision finally say, yeah, you guys can go because this ain't doing anything for us and we'd rather not pay you anymore?
Yeah, I mean, we'll never know how the contract was written, but yeah, you got to wonder. I feel like it would have been Activision. Like why wouldn't Bungie have stayed with them if everything was going great?
Oh yeah,
You know?
I have a hard time. I mean, the only reason that I could think that Bungie might try to get out of it is if they felt finally that Activision was putting way too many fingers into their pies,
Which would be no surprise. Yeah.
and not giving them enough autonomy that they were supposed to have. You know, so
Which is something that might happen if the game wasn't doing great.
right. Well, and you know,
at least financially.
Bungie walks away with like a $100 million, a new $100 million investment. So they've got a little bit of money to work with, and
They do? Oh, I didn't see that.
yeah, it's in what, like, the Kotaku article.
Oh, you read the article. Wow, that's okay. We're doing that now.
No, I wouldn't go that far. It's not worth your brain cell. So they're gonna walk away with a little bit of money. $100 million though, it's, you know, in the grand scheme of video games and how many people they're going to employ and all that stuff, it's I don't know how long, I don't know how far that goes. Well,
in the grand scheme of Destiny, weren't they the one that had the $500 million headline?
Yeah, that was something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
And not to confuse any of this with the loudest people on the internet, like, people are playing the game. I'm sure it's obviously making some money. If it wasn't making a ton of money, you can see why they would break off into something smaller,
right?
You know, something more independent. So, I mean,
but you know what? They get to walk away. They get to keep their IP. They get to keep all of Destiny as that's huge, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm sure that was in the contract somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure that was in there.
Because I'm willing to bet that Bungie learned from Microsoft.
Oh yeah. Oh, and everybody else that's partnered with Activision over the years.
Sure.
You know, like, what can we do to safeguard Activision from, number one, running our franchise into the ground, and number two, trying to exert so much control so they can run our franchise into the ground.
Well, here's what we can do as Bungie guys. We'll run the game into the ground on our own.
Smarter than your average bear developer.
Boo boo.
Just coined the term.
I don't think the Ranger's gonna like that very much, Yogi.
Yeah, somebody at Bungie is probably saying. How many people at Bungie right now are just like, can we just go back to making Halos? Is there any way? Can we just do some Halos now?
There are definitely people that are going, why?
And how? And why? And that's all we got. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming back. It's good to be back. We'll be back again, and we'll just keep doing this forever.
Woo!
Including Thursday, where we will take on the movie Before Sunrise for Book Club for Movies. So come back for that if you're into it. Podcast at 0HITPOINTS.com. Podcast at bookclubformovies.com if you want to do that. And
we're out!